Hungarian Folk Tales. The Salt Princess. Once upon a time there lived an old king who had 3 beautiful daughters. The old king wanted to find husbands for his daughters before he died, but he could not decide which daughter should receive the most beautiful of his 3 kingdoms. So he decided to give his most beautiful kingdom to the daughter who loved him the most. The old king asked his daughters, and the eldest replied, "I love you, dear father, as a dove loves good grain." "What about you, child?" "I love you, dear father, as a hot summer day loves a cool breeze." "And what about you, daughter?" "I love you, dear father, like people love salt." "What do you mean, salt? You ungrateful child. Is this what I raised and loved you for all these years? Get out of here! Get out of my sight!" His daughter tried to explain that people love salt very much indeed. She sobbed and begged, but her father shunned her from his palace. The poor princess walked and walked. She was terribly sad. She walked until she reached a vast forest. There she found a large hollow tree, and she hid herself inside it. She lived by gathering delicious nuts and ripe berries from the green forest. One day, the prince from the neighbouring kingdom was out hunting when he happened to pass by. He was chasing a deer when he spotted the princess. But when she saw the prince, she hid in a hollow tree. The handsome prince soon found the tree and shouted into the hollow, "Who is in there?" But the princess refused to reply. "Who is in there? Speak up." "Speak up or I'll shoot." The terrified princess eventually appeared. She was so beautiful, but she could not stop crying. The prince was so overcome that he embraced the sad princess, sat her high on his horse, and took her home to his palace. Their wedding was so grand that even the dogs ate beef broth, and the young couple lived as happily as 2 doves. Time passed until the young king asked his bride one day, "Tell me, why did your father chase you away?" "Because I told him that I loved him like people love salt." "Why, is that all?" Then the young king had an idea and sent a letter to the old king, inviting him to come and visit. The old king came the very next day in a golden carriage. The young king led him to his grandest chamber and sat him down at the table. His servant served soup, but it had no salt in it. And the meat had no flavour either. The king ate a great deal, but was still left feeling hungry. He remained silent for a while, but eventually had to speak. "What kind of cook do you have, son? Who makes food with no salt?" "I heard you don't like salt, sire." "Who told you that?" "Why, your daughter, of course." Then the princess appeared. The king's daughter smiled at her old father, who shed tears of joy. Father and daughter embraced, and the king gave his most beautiful kingdom to his youngest daughter. And they all lived happily ever after. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Little Pig and the Wolves. Once upon a time, there was a little pig who lived in a little house in the middle of a vast forest. The little pig was cooking supper one day when a scruffy wolf knocked on his door. "Little pig, let me in. It's so cold out here, I'll freeze to death." "No, I won't let you in because you'll eat me up." "Just let my back leg in or I'll freeze to death." The little pig put a big pot of water to boil on the fire, and then he let the wolf's back leg into the house. "Oh, little pig, please let my other back leg in too." "Little pig, please let my 2 front feet in now." The little pig let the wolf's 2 front feet in, but the scruffy wolf still wasn't happy. "Little pig, please let all of me in, and I promise I won't hurt a hair on your head." The little pig found a sack and held it open so that the wolf would walk right into it. And that's what he did. The little pig wasted no time and tied the sack up in a flash. Then he took the pot off the fire and poured boiling water all over the wolf. The steaming hot water made the wolf shout, and he wriggled and jiggled until he pushed the sack open. The bold, scolded wolf jumped out of the sack and saw the little pig sitting at the top of the tree. And the wolf ran off to find help. bold, scolded wolf eventually returned with the other wolves. The wolves thought and thought about how they would catch the little pig, as none of them could climb a tree. At long last, they decided to stand on one another's shoulders until they reached the little pig. The wolves climbed quickly, one on top of the other. The bold, scolded wolf stayed at the bottom because he was afraid of heights, so the others all climbed on top of him. The Tower of Wolves reached up to the sky until they only needed one more wolf on the top. The last wolf started to climb, and the little pig shouted, "Pour hot water on the bold one!" The bold, scolded wolf leapt out from the bottom of the pile and ran as fast as his legs could carry him. The wolves tumbled to the ground in a heap of furry bones. Then all the little piglet had to do was to jump down from the tree and go back into his little house. And the bad wolves never dared come near again. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Pork Pudding. Once upon a time, there lived a man who had a pig. The pig grew very big and fat, so the man decided to slaughter it for food. By the time spring came, the man and his family had eaten everything but the pork pudding. One day, the man went to tend his vines while his wife and 3 daughters stayed at home to cook supper. The wife told the eldest daughter, "Go up into the attic and fetch the pork pudding, my girl, and we'll cook it for your father's supper." The eldest girl did as she was told and was about to cut the pork pudding down when it spoke to her. "What do you want? You won't eat me, because I'll eat you first." And with these words, it ate the girl up. The wife could not imagine why her daughter had not come back down with the pork pudding. So she sent the second eldest daughter up to the attic to fetch it. But the fat pork pudding ate the second daughter up as well. So the wife sent the youngest girl up to fetch the pork pudding. But the youngest daughter did no better than her sisters, and the bulging pork pudding ate her up too. The wife could not imagine what had happened to her 3 darling daughters. "Well, I shall see for myself," she said, and went up into the roof. When she saw the size of the enormous pork pudding, she was pleased. But when she tried to cut the pork pudding down, it ate her up in a single mouthful. That evening, the man returned home from his vines to find no one at home to cook his supper. There was no supper on the stove and not even a fire inside it. The man searched high and low for his wife and 3 daughters. He realized that he would go hungry, so he went up to the attic to fetch the pork pudding to eat for his supper. But when the man got up into the attic and tried to cut the round pork pudding down, it shouted at him like it had at the others, "You won't eat me, I'll eat you first." And without any ado, the pork pudding ate the man up. By now, the heavy pork pudding was so weighty that the string could no longer hold it. It fell from the beam, rolled down the ladder, onto the porch, and out into the garden. The little house was on a big hill, so the gigantic pork pudding rolled all the way down the street. The local folks were just coming back from the fields, and the massive pork pudding ate them all up. The roly-poly pork pudding met a herd of pigs at the edge of the village, being led by a swineherd eating bacon with a pocket knife. The preposterously large pork pudding ate all the pigs up, and then the swineherd too. But the pocket knife was open, and the swineherd cut his way out of the pork pudding, and everybody followed him out into the sunshine. If that pork pudding had not split as it did, my story would have never ended. Hungarian Folk Tales. Brother Fox. The fox and the wolf were not the best of friends. The fox had tricked the wolf too many times, and so the wolf decided it was time to eat the fox. One day, 12 carts full of fish came trundling down the road. The fox stole a stack of fish from one of them. The wolf went to the fox's hole and shouted in, "You know, Brother Fox, I'm going to eat you now because you have cheated me so many times." Then he saw the pile of fish. "But give me some of that fish first, Brother Fox." "All right, I'll give you a couple." And the fox gave him some. "Where did you catch these, Brother Fox?" "In the river, Brother Wolf." "Well, teach me how to catch some too." "All right, Brother Wolf, I'll teach you." So they both went out onto the frozen river and cut a hole in the ice. "Well, Brother Fox, put your tail in here and wait until the fish begin to bite. You need to wait until it gets good and heavy," and that's exactly what happened. The fox left the wolf behind The wolf tried his tail a couple of times, but it was still too light, and he said, "There still aren't enough fish on the end." So he kept his tail dipped in the water, but then his tail froze fast, and he tried to pull it out, but he couldn't. When the women went down to the river the next morning, they saw the wolf, and they beat him with big sticks. The wolf leapt about until his tail tore off, and he ran away in anger. Then the wolf met the fox again. "Now I'm going to eat you, Brother Fox, because you cheated me again, and you can see that I've lost my tail. Why did you keep it in for so long? Were there so many fish on the end that you couldn't pull it out, you foolish wolf? Why did you do it? You know, Brother Wolf, I happen to know about a wedding party in the village. Let's go together and have some fun." And the silly wolf believed what the fox told him. The fox and the wolf went to the wedding party that evening. The farmer had left the barn door open. The fox said, "Don't make any noise, because the people at the party will hear you and kill you." They both started to eat. The fox began to feel very merry, and so he said to the wolf, "Brother Wolf, I want to sing a jolly song." The wolf said, "Don't, or else we shall be killed. Go to the top of the cellar and sing there." The fox started to sing so loudly that all the people came out from the party. They beat the wolf so badly that he barely survived. The fox had a brilliant idea and rolled in tar in the hen's trough. The tar froze on the fox and looked just like bone sticking out of his skin. Then he went to the road where he knew the wolf would pass. He lay in his way and started to groan and moan in pain. The wolf eventually hobbled by. "Now I'm definitely going to eat you up, Brother Fox. Brother Fox, you had me badly beaten, although I told you not to sing. Your problem is less than mine, Brother Wolf. You know what, Brother Fox? Sit on my back." And they walked like this for a while until the fox said, "The beaten one carries the unbeaten one, the unbroken one carries the broken one." "Excuse me, what was that you said, Brother Fox? I am fighting to stay alive, Brother Wolf. I don't know who will look after my children when I'm gone." They carried on walking like this for a while until the fox said again, "The beaten one carries the unbeaten one, he carries the unbroken." "What was that again, Brother Fox? I'm fighting to stay alive, Brother Wolf. I don't know who will look after my children when I'm gone." Then the fox started again. "The beaten one carries the unbeaten one. What are you going on about again, Brother Fox?" "I'm fighting to stay alive, Brother Wolf. I don't know who will look after my children when I'm gone." Then the fox leapt into his hole, but the wolf caught the fox's foot. "You did not catch my foot, Brother Fox. It's the tree root." The wolf let the foot go and then caught the root. "I won't budge from your hole until you come out, and then I will eat you." But the fox could make do with the fish he had. The wolf got very hungry and left the fox's house. And he has been roaming the forest ever since. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Little Walnut. Once upon a time, there lived a poor man who had so many children they were like ants in a hill. The children often went without food for 3 days in a row. They were so very poor. So their father set off to find some food for his family. He was walking in the forest when the devil met him, disguised as a man. "Where are you going, poor man?" "I'm going to find some food for my children. If I don't do something soon, they will all die of hunger." "Don't take another step. I'll give you something that, if you use it wisely, will put an end to suffering in your house. Here, take this little walnut, give it any order you like, and it will be done without delay. But what am I to give you in return? I don't want anything much, only the thing you don't know about in your home. The poor man started thinking what it could be that he didn't know about, but he could not think of a single thing. And as times were hard, he gave his promise. The poor man arrived home with a little walnut, and his wife asked, "Have you brought food? We are all so very, very hungry." "Well, I didn't exactly bring food, but I did bring a peculiar nut. The man who gave it to me said that we can order it to do anything we desire, and it will be done. Why did he give it to you? I'm sure he wanted something in return." "All he said was that I am to give him what I don't know about in my home in return for the nut." "Oh, you faithless fool, what have you done? You can see that I'm expecting a baby, and you didn't know about it, and now you have given it away. It's not my fault, wife, but what is done is done." The poor man gave an order to the walnut. "Well, little nut, all of us need food, drink, and clothes. I order you to make them now." And everything the man asked for was provided, and they all sat down to eat finer food than they had ever tasted in their lives before. The poor man also wanted a larger home, and so he ordered the little walnut to build him a large brick farmhouse with green gardens, lush pastures, and fine farm animals. The poor man soon became a rich man, and his baby was born. The family were all working hard one day when two old men arrived and asked for shelter for the night. He was glad to help and also gave them food. When they told him why they had come, "We know that the devil is about to come and take your youngest child. We came to help you save your innocent babe. Do as we say and put a loaf of bread on your table at night and let it stay there until the following day." So the man put a loaf on the table, and everyone in the house went to sleep for the night. They were all fast asleep at midnight when the devil appeared under the window and shouted up, "Hey, master of the house, do you hear me? Do you remember your promise to me? Give it to me now. I came for that." Nobody heard his words as they were all sleeping, but instead the bread spoke up. "Stay and sit easy outside. Just wait as I waited. Be patient and suffer as I patiently waited. I was sown in the soil in the autumn and sat there all winter, as you must wait now. When spring came, I started to grow, and I waited to grow tall, as you must wait now too. When the time of harvest came, I was cut with a scythe and gathered in bunches, but I had to suffer, as you must now suffer too. Then I was put on a cart, pushed along a road and into the village and waited, as you must wait now too. I was stamped on and painfully cracked. I had to suffer, as you must now suffer too. I was shoveled into a barn where they beat me with sticks. They beat me hard and I suffered, as you must suffer now too. Then I was put in a sack, taken to the mill and poured between two heavy stones and ground to powder. I had to suffer, as you must suffer now too. I was taken home and put into a bowl with salt and water. Then they punched me with their fists, kneaded me and tortured me. Then, greatest of all pains in the world, they pushed me into a fiery oven. I had to suffer all of this, so you must suffer now too. They baked me and burned me before I was brought here, and cut me with a sharp metal knife. I had to be patient and suffer and wait. Now you must be patient and suffer and wait now too. The devil was sad to hear the sound of the cockerel heralding the dawn of the next day. He had no power over men in the bright light of morning, so he ran back to his distant home, and the farmer's family kept their youngest son. The farmer thanked the old men for saving his baby boy from the devil's grasp. And that poor farmer still lives a wealthy life, unless they have lost their little walnut. Hungarian Folk Tales. Bees on the Train. Once upon a time, there was a large farm, and on that farm lived a man who had relatives from another village who came to visit him one day. They did not want to arrive empty-handed, so they brought him a gift of honey. The honey was quickly eaten with big chunks of fresh bread and was soon all gone. But while they sat eating, they discussed what a fine thing it was to keep bees and how simple it was with such rich rewards. The man could hardly wait for the next farm gathering, where he suggested they should buy bees to make honey. The head farmer agreed and asked if there was anyone willing to work with bees. A man stood up and said he knew all there was to know about bees. He also told them that he knew where to buy bees if that was what they wanted, and everyone cheered with joy. They worked out how much money to give the man, and he set off to buy bees for the farm. He bought as many hives as he could put on a train. Then he had the whole car covered in red cloth and had red clothes and a red hat made to wear. He soon made friends with the bees and spoke to them. He opened the door, and the bees came and went as they pleased. When they were halfway back to the farm, the train drove into a sidetrack, and the engine left. So the man asked the station master, "Why has the engine gone?" "Because," the station master said, "it was ordered to leave." "How long will the train be in the station?" "Who am I to know that?" "Don't talk to me like that, kind sir, because if I know that the train will be staying here for a whole day long, then I will let my bees out so they can have some air and food." "The train will remain for at least 3 days more," the station master told him. The beekeeper went out and opened up the hives. Come out, children, and have some air. Find food for yourselves and return to your hives in time for the sunset." The bees had barely left when suddenly the station master had an order to start the train again. The beekeeper saw from the top of the carriage that the engine was coming and the train was hooked up, and they sat waiting for the station master's signal to start. The beekeeper ran to complain. "What is all of this? You never told me about this, station master, but I received an order to start the train. But that's impossible. My bees are still in the field. They cost a fortune." "What am I to do with your bees?" the station master replied. "I am a station master and not a beekeeper." "Well, at least leave the carriage with the bees here in the station so it can be coupled up with another train tomorrow." "That's impossible." And with these words, he started the train, which left the station with the bees' carriage. The beekeeper also left in his red clothes. While most of the bees were busy gathering honey, they sent a small party back to see if all was safe with their carriage in the station. Well, when they arrived, they saw that the train had taken their hives away. They returned to the meadow and told the others that their carriage had vanished. So all of the bees flew back to the station, and when they arrived, they found people waiting for a passenger train. Well, the bees thought that these people had stolen their hives, and so they stung them and stung them. The people cried out for help. The station master heard their calls, so he rushed out of his office, and he too was attacked by the angry swarm. His wife heard his cries and opened the window to see what was wrong. And as she opened the window, the bees rushed in and stung her so badly that she cried louder than all the rest. The station master heard this, and he ran upstairs to find out what had happened to his wife. And then he saw that the whole room was filled with bees. The two of them had to hide under a blanket to save their skins, but both were badly stung and their faces sadly swollen. The people waiting for the train all ran back to their homes, but the swarm of bees flew after them. The other villagers heard their shouts and ran out into the street. "Help! The village is being attacked by bees!" And they rang the big bell. The station master eventually came to his senses and he called for the train to be sent back to the station, and it soon reappeared on the platform. The beekeeper, still dressed all in red, climbed on top of the carriage and started to call the bees back. "Come on, children, your hives are here." The bees, hearing their master's voice, gathered together and flew back in an orderly fashion. Those that had survived the bloody battle made their way quietly back into their hives. Then the beekeeper went to see the station master, but he could hardly recognize him. "You deserved whatever happened because you spoke to me so rudely." But the beekeeper eventually forgave the station master, and the beekeeper went back to the farm and laughed when he recalled what had happened that day. The bees soon started to make honey on the farm and made more money than all the farmers and animals put together. From then on, life on the farm was sweet.